we want to find the limit as x approaches 0 of 1 on x. Once again, if we try to put x equals 0, we get 1 over 0, and that's undefined, divisibility by 0, undefined. So it's not as simple as just substituting in x equals 0. So what we've got to do is have a look at what happens on either side of x equals 0. And the way to do that is if we've got f, now a value on the positive side, so as x approaches 0 from the positive side. Now the positive side of 0 is a value very, very close, a positive value very, very close to 0. So let's just say it's 1 on 1,000. Now that's a value that is just bigger than 0, and it is on the positive side. So that'll be 1 over x is equal to 1 on 1,000. And you know that divisibility by a fraction, we change it to, so that's like 1 divided by 1 over 1,000. And the way to cope with divisibility by fractions is change the divide to a multiply, flip this one upside down. And that's just equal to 1,000. Now, as we make this closer, if we go 1 over 10,000, we go 1 over 1,000,000, this will be 10,000 or 1,000,000. So as we get x closer and closer to 0 from the positive side, the function is getting larger and larger and larger. So we can say that the limit as x approaches 0 from the positive side of 1 on x is equal to positive infinity. It's getting larger and larger. So now let's have a look at what happens as x approaches 0 from the negative side. And to get an idea of what's going on, we'll say it's equal to negative 1 on 1,000. So that's 1 over negative 1 on 1,000. So a positive divided by a negative is going to be a negative, and most of you should be able to just go, all right, that's equal to negative 1,000. So the limit as x approaches 0 from the negative side, so getting closer and closer, x is getting closer and closer to 0 on the negative side of 0, is equal to negative infinity. Now for the limit to exist, these two values here must be equal, but they're not equal. So therefore we can say that the limit as x approaches 0 of 1 over x does not exist, because as we approach 0 from either side, we're getting two different values. Okay, for the visual people, what does the graph of y equals 1 on x look like? Some of you may recall from earlier work that it looks like that. So we can see that as x approaches 0 from the positive side, this is the positive side, this is the negative side, we can see that the graph is getting closer and closer. It never actually cuts the y-axis. So the graph continues on up there and it approaches positive infinity. As x approaches 0, so x is getting closer and closer this way, the graph is going down there and it approaches negative infinity. So graphically, that's a little explanation as to why this happens.